Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SB Reacts, where today we've got ourselves a track from an act named Influential ECB titled Change Up. And if we switch over to here, we've got ourselves a track here on the screen on YouTube. Got the video for it and the art, and we're going to listen through it from start till finish. And we're going to hear what we think. Let's do it, let's go. What do we got?
If you ever change up, that'll mess the game up. Lawyers on retainer, life I have you banged up. Just trying to get my change up. I'm just trying to get my change up. If you ever change up, that'll mess the game up. Lawyers on retainer, life I have you banged up. Just trying to get my change up. I'm just trying to get my change up. I ain't trying to be famous.
Real or fake, can't even make a estimate. It's treacherous, cause they gon' turn when least expecting it. Mass exodus, when I cut you off, it's indefinite. The pressure get hard, especially when in the deficit. I'm prejudiced against all you busters who don't mess with this. Not credulous when it come to friends, and it's evident like desolate. And the pistol pointed for the precipice. The stress to live, I can't really focus on the speculative. In bed again, mad I can't sleep without the sedatives. Instead of this, wishing I could change spots with the mega rich or negative. Maybe they heard more, I'm in my head again. It's devilish, all the snakes and grass that I'm measuring. Bring cheddar in, think I'm the embezzlement from brethren with better men. I could build a bond and I sever it. The fella slit, tried to do me dirty, so I deaded it ahead of it. Now I'm headed south with the Confederates, new residents.
That'll mess the game up. Lawyers on retainer, life I have you banged up. Just trying to get my change up.
Lots taken now.
I'm just trying to get my change up. If you ever change up, that'll mess the game up. Lawyers on retainer, life I have you banged up. Just trying to get my change up. I'm just trying to get my change up.
Great harmonies on the side, though, overlaid on the center.
When you become mad when the baddies and the groupies come Peruvians, bad little persons with the Louis song, they knew me none, but my notoriety then grew a ton of movie on, like a classic one that Stanley Kubrick done. I seen the scene shot, the ball to get the green dollar. I was a slingshot, now I'm a machine copper. I did the slang thing, nah brother, speak proper. Rewards for staying on your purpose, not for dream hoppers. Oh no, we can't hang, give you all in gang. A different mindset that crack a different mainframe. My life you sure to fit, be sure to keep the same frame. Before my moral switch, I'd rather let my veins drain. Don't take the minuscule and turn it to the critical. I want my kids with you and share all of my riches too. Don't get bored and search for more and do the ritual and break the whole family up just like these chickens do.
Change up, that'll mess the game up. Lawyers on retainer, life I have you banged up. Just trying to get my change up. I'm just trying to get my change up. If you ever change up, that'll mess the game up. Lawyers on retainer, life I have you banged up. Just trying to get my change up. I'm just trying to get my change up. I ain't trying to be famous.
Okay, nice use of repeaters at the end. I dig the kind of balance between the rapping and sung vocals in the chorus and verses respectively. And we're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Influential ECB titled Change Up. In this section I'm going to provide an overall song analysis of everything from lyrics and vocals all the way through to studio production, as well as any applicable constructive critique, and then finally my general thoughts from a listener's perspective. But before we go any further, what do we think this track is about? I think from what I understand of the track, the main hook line being asking the person they're discussing this with or singing to not to change things up there. They got their lawyers on retainer there in case there's any moves made. They're on their change up though, Influential ECB is, and they're trying to make their moves and their gains and stuff like that. They basically want to have a similar kind of chemistry or sort of understanding with this person as they continue to make the gains they need to in order to get to the future that they want to. We have lines like don't get get bored and search for more and do the ritual, you know, like break the family up, don't break the family up. Just like these chickens do. It kind of makes me think that maybe we're asking the person to stick with us through thick and thin as we figure stuff out and to, again, not change how things are working in terms of the chorus. But early in the track, we see the pressure get hard, kind of like we're in a deficit there where we're kind of discussing that for us, you know, like even we understand that things are difficult and that I think, you know, Influential ECB is going through some personal trials and tribulations. I can't really focus on the speculative, you know, stress to live. So these lines show a sense of, I suppose, insight into who Influential ECB as a person. They're showing a bit of vulnerability there, but it's done in a way where it's voiced to sort of both try and connect with the person that Influential ECB is trying to sort of like speak to, whilst also kind of making them a bit more accessible to the audience. It's a little bit more sort of relatable. I feel like if they'd kind of fronted the entire time, been a little bit less personable, it just might have been a little bit kind of jarring or kind of pointed. But I think that the balance there between what they're going through and sort of further explaining why they need things to not change or why they, you know, like, you know, discussing the risks involved with changing, I think is important. And just, you know, to speak about the actual performance on the mic itself, I thought that the voicing, the vocals and the chorus, the sung parts, were really pretty sounding. I like the kind of fourth harmonies you have on the side as the call and responses, but we use that change up, that hook line really neatly in it. You get stuck in the listener's head with the repetition of it. The messaging is very sort of clear and simple and straightforward, which is a contrast to some of the wordplay that we have in those verse sections. With the, you know, the words coming through really neatly, the bars from Influential ECB nice and clear on the mic, you know, present in the mix there. It's a kind of a solo performance there. So it's them speaking to you. It's very kind of personable. It's very kind of low-key in terms of the expression. We're not trying to over-articulate or over-emphasize things. We're not trying to sort of like show it's affecting us too much. It's like cool, calm, and calculated to an extent. But I think with the chill nature of the instrumental backing behind it, that makes complete sense. You know, at 3 minutes 20, this is quite a well fleshed out track. You know, it flies by very neatly. You've got this kind of lo-fi-ish plucked instruments there and the kind of ether at the beginning of the piece there with some vocal runs and chops as well to kind of let us know what kind of lead we're gonna have. And I kind of like the washed out nature of it as it kind of seems like we're in the ocean pondering our thoughts. When you do have the drums come in with the mixture of kicks and sort of claps and sort of cymbals there, it's nicely metered with the slower tempo and the 16th notes and the half-time meter with a mixture of on beats and syncopades and open hi-hats to articulate and emphasize certain parts of the rhythm and groove of it. And we have these little kind of like air candish kind of flickers there, and the transfers is almost like a fillish device, which is kind of neat. There are these wow kind of like occasional sort of like synthy parts there in the middle for a little bit of variety and harmonically. And there are these arpeggios in the background as well that are a bit like higher there that are very kind of subtle there. There's a sense of dimensionality to this track in terms of where things are presented and such. I appreciate that. At that 1 minute 28 mark, what I appreciate is that the drums and bass kind of take a break for a moment. We're very comfortable with the use of the 808, kind of riffing on those root notes and the drums being nicely present, but it's good to have a moment to kind of let things flow as well. There, it's cool. It's just a nice kind of push and pull between the up and lower elements there. There's a focus on rhythm and groove and cadence with those verse rap sections there, so to have things kind of stop is a nice bit of contrast, sort of like compositionally. And I like how things flow around that 3 minute mark as well. It's kind of neat to simply get rid of the low end in general there and just have the high end kind of emphasize how things are kind of, how like our thoughts are going around our head. And that echo at the end is just a nice way to end the track there, non-confrontational, just kind of, you're just done at that stage. And the use of the wah pedal as a closing note before we go into the theme, the wow, and some of those sort of like parts is kind of just a neat sort of like twist there. It's a texture I don't hear that often, but it just kind of is a little bit of articulation that I wouldn't have expected, but nonetheless appreciate being there. It's just a fun sound, I suppose. So I think this isn't a major key, but it's a very subtle major key. It's like extended, so it's not bluntly happy sounding. And I think that's a sensible decision to make in terms of the theme and sort of chord choices and stuff and arpeggios within this. I don't think it would have made any sort of real sense there to have stuff kind of fluctuate like that. I think that considering the subject matter and a lot of the emotional nuance within it, using those chords and note choices was sensible. I think kind of metering it out and kind of establishing that equilibrium allows us to be more receptive to any of the sort of twists and turns we have in regards to the lyrics and subject matter. I think it also allows us to appreciate some of the lo-fi jazziness from like the keys and even some of the guitar parts that I'm hearing upon a re-listen. It's, you know, you hear these additional elements and you're like, oh, there's even more to sort of hear and sort of appreciate. It's just nice to hear these additional elements on like the second time or third time through, you know, just like, oh, there's like re-listen value. But I think a lot of the focus anyways outside of the chord progression that is repeating throughout the piece is on the vocals. Anyways, they're the main focal point and they develop enough and there's enough sort of like changes to them to be able to kind of like sit us through the time anyway. So type performance without a note out of place. Studio recording, mixing and mastering is really solid. I like the presence of the vocals in the mix. Initially, I wasn't sure if the verse vocals were like a little bit loud. They could have been reduced by like 0.5 dB or something along those lines. But as I got used to the way that the track like went through, no, absolutely, the leveling's fine. The presence, EQ, compression, reverb tails, the use of echoes occasionally like on the clean vocals at the end is really neat. I think the music surrounds you in a stereo field. There's stuff to appreciate around the left and right sides of the headphones there. There's no weird resonances in the frequency spectrum either. Things are quite well niched in that regard. Nice use of sidechaining with the kicks and percussive elements there with adjustments to those hi-hats and other things not being too overpowering. There's a sense of dynamic range to it as well, with difference between quiet and highs while still being quite well glued. You know, bus compression limiting is handled. You know, no real applicable constructive critique for me. From a final general listener's perspective, it's just kind of nice to hear tracks like this where there's, again, nuance with the subject matter. Sometimes I hear tracks which are very in like a happy or like a sad direction thematically or in terms of the subject matter. And it's just kind of cool to hear Influential ECB kind of sort of approach it from a nuanced perspective. And it just shows maturity on their part, both as a human being and as a musician. I wish everyone involved all the best of luck in the future endeavors, because thank you for watching my review of this track from an act named Influential ECB. Total change up, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show some love via their various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need to help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next SB Reacts. Spiderhands out.